it's hard to surrender. A lot of people don't even know like why they feel the way they do, what patterns they have, and what will help them. They don't even know that. God didn't just give me one talent. I know for myself, some people, and some people God gave 10 talents. But my thing is, it's your job, it's your duty to steward the talents he gave you. Round 2. She's pissed.
I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Funny is that we literally haven't met in person, and I didn't know that you were 6'9".
And you're like,
I was like, dang, there's a huge man walking in.
I just want to say thank you, one, for having me on the pod, for saying that, and I took like an hour just now to get here. Like, when somebody says 2 o'clock, they get here at 3. It's a wrong first impression.
Disrespect. No, I'm kidding. Things happen. I get it.
So thanks.
So I kind of just want to like free range speak. You have so many good topics that you've talked about. You have your own podcast, Mind Bully. I've been on it and I've listened to a few of them just even today. And it's fantastic the way that you use your voice.
Thank you.
So everybody should check it out. But for now, tell us, what's your story?
You know, that's a great question. What's my story? Before this, I keep it a buck. So she told me that's the first question I'm going to ask you. I'm like, I don't know what my story is. But I think that's a very interesting question to ask, because a lot of us have different stories each and every single day that we live our lives. And to answer that question, the image that comes in my head is the story of my podcast and why I made the podcast. Rewind. I was in Germany. I had the chance to play in Germany during COVID time. All my teammates back here, I played with the Suns in the Suns G League. There was indifference all over the world. We didn't know when our season was going to start again. And so I took the opportunity. I was like, okay, it's a blessing to play in a different country, a different league, like learn a different language, see things I've never seen before. And it was a bag, like I got money, like good money during a time of turmoil where everybody else didn't have that. So it was a blessing. So I go over there. I had a 3-story house. The living is just like here. And at first I'm geeked, like I'm excited. Like actually my first month there, September, my birthday, it was a blast. I went to Berlin, all these things that I always wanted to do. And I was like, oh, hell yeah. Like I did it. And I'm showing all my friends back home, like I made it. And literally the next week, everything shut down in Germany, lockdown. And I mean, like in Germany, the government came to your door and was like, hey, sign these papers if you leave.
No.
And just...
Wait, and you were alone, basically, just like with your team?
By myself.
Yeah.
And it was so hard because I was by myself in the house, and 2 of my teammates all have wives, kids, all that stuff. And so now I can't reach out to, community members, team members, or meet other people because of the strict lockdown. And I was unfortunately in a situation where I got hurt. I had long story short, a crazy coach. He's been fired 2 times since then for nonsense. And basically all of that, the things that he was saying to me, I was internalizing. And I've never been that type of person. Like if you say something crazy, I'm like, okay, I know who I am. But I think being away from my family, being away from friends and everybody, I was lost. And I was, whatever he said that day, I was. If he called me a name, I was. And I would go back home and try to relive, like, how can I do this better the next day? And nothing was ever good enough. So I got to a point where I was real, depressed and in my head and in my mind, and I broke down. And just the tough times, I ended up leaving that team. And in the break from leaving that team to find my other team, it was rocky. Like, again, if you rewind and you say, man, everybody back home thinks I'm doing something great. I'm getting a bag, 3-story house. And you think you got to this level where it's like, okay. But on the other hand, I know how I feel. I know what I'm actually going through.
Yeah.
And it just gave me a broad view of, mentally, a lot of people are going through this battle. And through those different times, I had a choice. I always say this, whether it's to keep suppressing my voice, keep suppressing that inner voice that's, got me to this point, or surrender. And a lot of times when you surrender, a lot of people take their life and think in that way. And I did too at a point there. But I chose to surrender in a different way. On my knees, praying to the Lord and reconnecting with my God and my faith. And long story short, but that's kind of what got me through. But that's a long-winded my story, but it brought me to this moment.
So tell me about that. Tell me about being an athlete and that kind of pressure. And I know that so many athletes, they struggle with like serious depression and this like imposter syndrome. And so how did you kind of walk through that? Was it something you ever even conquered, or do you think it's just like an ongoing thing?
It's a great question, because apart from my story, there's a ton of different athletes, like you said, that every single day they feel that pressure, whether it's the outside pressure or the fans. I gotta play well to get to the next step. And they're always, athletes, we always see in the future, okay, if I make this play, like you're always kind of in that mental strain. And I always do this. I don't even know the question that you asked, but I think what got me through it is, a broad view of life, like what actually matters. Yeah, I impress this coach and I get this job, but like I said, I just got a 3-story house. The most money I've ever got to doing it that way. Like there's always a ceiling, I feel like. So once I connected with my faith, I was able to see things different. That's the one thing the Lord does. He gives you different perspective and new eyes in the same situation. Yeah. And so I was able to see things differently. And that kind of helps me to, deal with coaches and players and situations differently. Like I have a purpose in every single thing that I'm doing because of the new eyes that I've been graced with. So. Yeah.
And so I have 2 things. One is you're a pastor's kid, but we'll get into that in a second. Yeah. 2, the identity piece. Do you still play professional basketball?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I know, and maybe you can foresee this, but when athletes that get to a certain level, or even athletes in high school, I don't know, it depends, and their career is now over.
Right.
It's
the toughest thing in the world.
Yeah. What does that look like? Because I think that's on a large spectrum, showcasing how we are so attached to our identity and what we do. And so when we're not doing the things that we feel like we're supposed to be doing, or that we were called to do, or our time is done, we've gotten hurt or whatever, how do you, what would your advice be on maneuvering out of that and creating a new identity?
It goes back to what you just said. It's hard to get out of, but I think context does a lot here for people that don't know or haven't experienced or don't know people that go through that. You start, let's say, age 7. You play this sport every single day, and you think about the sport. You watch the sport. All your emotions, everything is into this one sport. Fast forward, you end up blessed to play at the college level, the professional ranks, and let's say you're 35, and it's like, okay, it's time to start my life. And it's pretty hard because you've learned one thing every single day. You work out and you're charged toward this one thing. That change is hard, but I would say myself to a lot of athletes is in this moment, start seeing yourself more than a basketball player. Like you said, the identity piece. You're not a basketball player. I know I'm a child of God first and foremost. And what I always say is, let me think, God didn't just give me one talent. I know for myself, some people, and some people God gave 10 talents. But my thing is, it's your job, it's your duty to steward the talents he gave you. So if you know, man, I could play basketball. And 2, they always say I'm a good leader, speaker. I should, find a way to grow in that, work that every single day. It's like a muscle. You good with that analogy anyways. You're a basketball player, so work the different things that you're actually good at. So it's on you to see yourself as more than just that. You're putting a ceiling on yourself to just say, I just play basketball. And then you run into those issues. If I was talking to a player today, I would be like, what are you good at? What do you have an inkling for? What do you have, the charge for? Something different. And if you don't know that, that's fine, but figure it out. That same courage, that same motivation that helps you in the sport, find that for life, for anything, for any different traits that, you might have a twinkle for. Just find that thing. Once you find it, grow in that just like you would the sport. I would just say that, again, it's the talents. He gave us so many talents. How dare you listen to any coach figure that says, "Oh, go." I hate that, but I would say that.
Well, I think a good thing that you do is one of your talents then is speaking, is using your voice, and you actually took pain that you had gone through, a lot of it, and you made purpose out of it. And so that's also a part of, like, it's like the foundation is God, and now you're moving through and you're using all of the other talents and doing it for something that has a much higher purpose than you typically think. So that leads me. Tell me about being a PK, which is a pastor's kid, apparently. I didn't know the acronym until recently.
It's tough because growing up as a PK, you live two lives. You live one life back at home with your family, super religious, super in the word, super. Yeah. You just growing that way. And as a kid, you don't really know why. You're just doing it. You're just like, all right, this is what we do. But then you go to school and then you say those things and you're looked at as different or weird or odd and you try to fit in. I think, your formative years, 8 to 18, you're really trying to search and find yourself. Yeah. Outside of your house, outside of your friends, you're trying to find yourself. So it's like two different parallels. You're switching off an on and off switch every time you go somewhere. And then when people know that you're a PK, they look at you different. Every single thing you do, you're like, oh, that's not what a pastor kid would do. That's not. Yeah. It would get so frustrating, and it almost gets to a point where it's two extremes, whether you're super good or you're like, forget them, super bad. And honestly, I was on the bad spectrum. I was on the rebel spectrum because, again, I'm a twin.
You're a twin?
Yeah.
Shut up.
I swear.
We gotta talk about that too. Where does he live?
Two sets of twins.
What?
Yeah. He's in med school actually.
Awesome. Is he also 6'9"?
No, he's 6'2".
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say your poor mother.
Yeah. But no, living in that, I was already trying to find my identity as a twin. Yeah. But then as a PK, there's so many labels. What about Norense? I want to be Norense. And it was always hard to find that. So I think it was tough, and I did the wrong things initially, but I found and came back on track. For
sure. I was kind of a similar way. So do you feel like you gave your life to Christ at a young age and then kind of like filtered it out and then came back to it, or what?
I think I never said Christ, hell no. I was always with Christ, but was I living like a Christian? No.
No, okay.
But I will say, like, a lot of PKs, they grow up in Christ, but they don't really know him. Once you have those experiences by yourself or in college or in a Germany like I had, and you have those real experiences, it's like you're renewing yourself. I think as soon as you get born again, you're like a baby. You're baby to the Spirit, and it's, what do babies need? They need food. You need to be fed. And early on in my life, I didn't feed myself in the Word. I'd be a baby. Yeah, I'm a baby Christian. Go to school and feed myself on all those things and end up like that. But once I started feeding myself on the Word, I'm able to charge and be like, I know what God says about me, despite what this coach or anybody else says about me. So. Yeah.
So I feel like right now in the world, because I'm kind of doing a Who is Jesus series. And
that's cool.
Yeah, because I think for me, like, I gave my life to Christ in April of 2021. And I always kind of knew of Jesus, but I never had like a relationship with him. And then the world kind of has felt, like a lot has happened, and you question. And I think part of like what some people fear when they're Christians or not Christians is like, don't question God. And it's like, I believe that God is so much bigger and greater. He's like, hey, like, show up with your question so I can show you and confirm to you what's true. Yeah. And I see a lot, I'm on both sides of TikTok. And so there's the very Christian side of TikTok.
I hate it. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh my gosh. It feels hokey.
Yeah, it's so
Thank you.
Lame as hell. That shit lame. Like, it's lame.
Yeah.
It's actually lame.
And I think there's
it hurts. It hurts because people are like, I won't do that. I don't want to be a part of your club.
Yeah.
You guys are lame.
Yeah. And it's incredibly unrelatable. Like, when I hear like Christian influencers talking about certain things, like, hey, you just gotta like pray and like trust yourself and all of these like really basic fundamental things, it feels so out of touch when there are real things that each and every one of us deal with that are on such a deeper level.
Right.
And then there's this other side though of TikTok that is now very anti-Christian, anti-church. There are like songs that are becoming popular now because they're like telling their story about how the church hurt them. And I feel like it's kind of like the way of the enemy, because what's happening is there's like this separation of people from the church because we all feel so offended, but we're missing out on the relationship with Jesus now.
Yes.
And I don't know if I'm wrong about this, but I feel like, or I don't think I'm wrong about this. I feel like your relationship with Jesus, it's like, it's the only thing.
Yes.
And so now people are pushing it away without even like saying, hey, like, are you there? Can you speak to me?
Yeah. It's deeper. It's like, one, the church is filled with broken people.
Yes.
So it's like I said, to the analogy of the players trying and fighting to find a different thing or different interest. It's the same thing. Like, okay, you go to a church, you're hurt by this church. Yeah, it feels bad. Your feelings are hurt. Find a new church. If you don't like this chicken spot, would you stop eating chicken? I would. I'm a vegan, but like, find a new chicken spot.
You're vegan?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we're learning so many things.
Yeah, but it's just like you have to. My relationship with God is not predicated on if I like you or not.
Yeah.
You have nothing to do with him.
Yeah.
You are a vessel to him where he speaks to, but he gonna speak through somebody else too, and I can connect with that person too, and so I just think it's
feeling the Holy Spirit. Right now.
I just think it's people need to, it sounds bad, but like the feelings aspect of, the church hurt me. Recognize that you have a relationship with God. He cares about you so much to have a unique one-on-one personal relationship with you. You don't need no dang church or person to tell you different.
Yeah, absolutely. Somebody once said to me in a sermon, actually, they were talking about how God doesn't actually care how you feel. Like, it doesn't matter what you feel because... And in that retrospect, it's like, it doesn't matter what you think about yourself. It doesn't matter what you feel about yourself. No matter what, you're still loved. No matter what, you're still worthy. No matter what, you can still do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And you're worthy of your purpose. And I think that's really beautiful. And it touches on how I think people are being separated from Jesus now, because even me, like, I was so offended.
Yeah.
And we often, like, the world is, everyone's so sensitive and offended these days. And it wasn't until I, like, stepped back and said, okay, like, maybe this has nothing to do with me at all, that I can see the truth. I
think it's deeper. And even when you said God doesn't care about how you feel, even when I listen to that, as I know other friends are unbelievers and different things like that, it's like, dang, ouch. They wouldn't know how to take that. But it's like, God he connects through his word. He speaks his word. It's like, it says, the just shall live by faith. Who is the just? The righteous. The people that call themselves Christians, followers of Christ. The just shall live by faith. He never said, not once, the just shall live by feelings. And anybody outside of Christ or anything else, okay, they could connect with that. I shouldn't live by feelings. Like, say I want a hamburger today. And every single day I live off that feeling. No, nobody on earth lives off feelings. So when you know as a Christian, the just shall live by faith. It says live by faith, meaning a lifestyle. Faith is a lifestyle. So no matter what you do, any situation you're in, the just shall live by faith. The faith lifestyle, it's to connect with that. And he reveals himself through faith. So.
No, I think that's beautiful, and I think that's spot on. And I'm glad you agree with the hokiness, because the hokiness, I think...
It's lame.
It's pulling people away, for sure.
Yeah, it's not attractive.
And we're not being real about, like, I guess this would be a good question, being a PK. I think a lot of people, and including myself, I've had these thoughts of you step into this Christian identity now, and all of a sudden you're a sinner. And I think people kind of step away from that because they're like, I don't want to be like, I don't want to be a sinner. I don't want to be called that. I don't want to be ashamed, because I think we go to shame often. So like, what do you believe that God believes about us sinning or missing the mark?
You mean as a Christian?
Yeah. Because I think people, and I ask because I think people that aren't Christians, they want to know, like, what's the pull? What's the pull to step into something that's going to tell you you're a sinner?
Explain that a little bit. I don't kind of understand, because for me, right, as a Christian and as an unbeliever, the whole thing about it is grace and the love that he has.
Yeah,
You know, he comes open arms, come as you are.
Yeah.
You know, so there's so many instances in the Bible where, you know, sinners, people that cast down Christians, people that went against him in opposition, you know, God still had his open hands. Jesus did to bring them back. So it's the grace aspect, right? And a lot of times as Christians, you kind of take advantage of that grace. Mm-hmm. And on the outside, or the onset, the outside looking in, people won't understand that grace.
Yeah.
Again, it's not something that should be understood.
Yeah, it's felt.
Yeah, it's felt, and it's faith.
It's faith, yeah.
Yeah, like you accept Christ through faith.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you're a Christian. And again, it goes back to the lifestyle of, I don't understand why somebody can love me after everything I've done.
Yes.
I don't understand after all the tough and disgusting and hurtful things I've said to people.
Yeah.
I don't understand why. Am I lovable? Yeah. Am I a person of purpose? Am I a person with any worth? I don't understand. Yeah, it's not on you to understand.
Yeah.
It's give yourself up to Christ and the faith and the grace that doesn't make sense to you.
Yeah.
And he turns you and renews you into, you know, who you are in Christ.
Yeah, I think that's really powerful. And I think that's the answer that I was hoping for.
Cool.
Because I think my question comes from a place of like what I feel like even I asked before I became a Christian. Like, why would I step into that knowing that it was, or having the assumption or the perception and the feeling that I was going to be shamed for everything that I had gone through. But it's actually like you're saying, like you find freedom in it.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Man, if it was that, I have never been no goody two shoes. So, God, I'm glad for grace. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So something I loved that you talked about on your podcast that I just listened to was toxic positivity. Yeah. Please enlighten me, because
you like that take. A lot of people don't like that take. For me, it's like when I hear toxic positivity, I don't actually understand it. I don't get the term. I do get when people go through real things or experiencing something and they're just like, you know, let me hide it. Let me put it away and tucking it away. Like I do get that. Suppress. Again, to my experience, I've suppressed for a long time in my life. It doesn't do anything but bottle up, and you're forced with an opportunity to choose. Yeah. Suppress or surrender. Like it gets to that point. But I think, you know, if you want to change, let's think, I feel bad, I feel sad, I feel hurt, I'm down. If you want to change, right? And everything we see around us was spoken into life, right? Like words matter, creates everything. Yes. Yeah. Why would I open my eyes, open my big mouth, and say anything negative to change my situation? Yeah. Or I get on IG, get on Instagram, and I'm just seeing people say negative things like, yeah, that's true. Why are they doing that? Why are they... Excuse me, does that make any sense? Yeah. Are you actually wanting to change how you feel? Yeah. So those people that say, oh, toxic positivity, I would just ask, like, okay, let's say you're right? How do you want to go about changing? Yeah, what do you do then? Yeah, what do? You get together and be like, oh, they're... Like, doesn't make any sense. Yeah, well, even the healing process, like, if you want to be negative, like, go explore that part and explore it with a professional, and they'll tell you, like, you're going to have to reframe all the pain anyway. Yes. And so it's like, it's not about devalidating people. I just did this podcast with this psychologist who talks about the victim mentality and how, like, we all have it, and we all, at some levels, benefit from it. But, I think people are finding a lot of solace and, like, love and false love and false connection and talking about the way that things are so painful. And I think I've been there, so I can definitely talk to it and also say that, like, it's a downward spiral. I think because it's more prominent, right? You see negative things, so it's easy to, find the community that way. Yeah. It's so hard to see somebody so positive, even though they're going through pain. It's hard to see that. So it's like, you can still find the community and love doing it the positive way. So it just takes more effort and takes, fighting through the hurdles of how you feel about what people are posting or what people are saying. It's like, okay, I want to feel great. Yeah. Why don't I connect with people that are speaking positive and pouring life into me other than just, I don't get it. Yeah, no, and that's a really good point. I used to journal about this years ago,
where I was like, I've read all the books, I've listened to all the podcasts, I've worked hard, I've studied, I worked for one of the top entrepreneurs in the world, and here I am, and I'm still feeling all of the same things. And I found, like, I wrote down, I said, why will I not let myself be happy? Like, what is it? There's like so much resistance that we find because all of these things, like, they're right in front of us. But I think when we get stuck in a pattern in our old programming, there's no opportunity for us to say, wait, like, I can actually do different, I can feel different, and then create consistency.
I think there's one thing though, like, even as a Christian, before I used to get hesitant to say it because some people are like, oh, it's the Holy Spirit, right?
Yeah.
And for me, we're all, not for me, for everybody, we're all souls in a body, we're containers, but you know, the Father of spirits is Christ, you know, and we live to connect with the Father of spirits, and he gave us power through the Holy Spirit. Yeah. So no matter what we see, no matter what we feel, no matter what we go through, you know, that's one of the things in Germany that helped me is falling on my knees and connecting with the Holy Spirit. Because, you know, I can write all these tactics. I was journaling every day, reading books, and I was still feeling the same. I'm praying, but the real power comes through the Holy Spirit. You connect with that, and he changes your whole situation. I'm a living proof. And so many countless people in my life done the same, but I'm just... It's weird. A lot of times, I think you said earlier, there's a different, you mentioned two spectrums between, you know, people that hate, you know, the church and stuff, and people that are goody two shoes. I think there's in the middle that doesn't teach, they preach. And it's just preaching, and I go to churches on Sundays and I just see motivation and I'm clapping my hands. I'm like, yeah, I feel great. 10 minutes after church, somebody cut me off. I'm ready to go crazy. I'm like, are you guys actually teaching us anything or just preaching? If I want a motivational speaker, I go to Ed Milet, I go to hip hop preacher, I go to ET, like I go to people that actually, you know, I didn't come here for that. I came for information to help me in my life, tactics, you know, not, it's so, I think there's a middle, and I think there's a point where, you know, leaders, Christians, church, we need to teach the things. Round
just took a little intermission.
Fight. Round 2. She's pissed.
I can't believe it. What's worse is that it was my fault.
It happens to the best of us.
Yeah. So whatever. We said some good truths, but maybe I'll put it at the very end, and I'll say, hey, like, if you want to watch The Black Box, as
are you going to keep the other stuff?
It was so good. Maybe it wasn't meant to be heard, though.
Maybe it was just a secret.
Yeah. We said the secret of life, and they're all going to miss it.
That was it. Yep.
Yeah. So now we have a blank page.
I like that.
Of all the new things that we could talk about.
I like that. It gives us, you know, once I have a pod, you have a pod, Creative Vein. It gets our creative juices going. So, you know, this is a live thing here. Like, you're seeing us create.
Yeah, no question. Just moving as we go.
Yeah. So, start. It's your fight. It's on you.
I don't know. I mean, I want to know your take on your, like, relationship past.
Ew.
That's a painful one. But I think I don't know if we've had similar situations, but I think we've both experienced crazy people.
Yeah, Actually, on my close friends on IG, I'm real candid. I tell her like it is. And I had like my ex-girlfriend, my crazy ex-girlfriend. And usually when a guy says that, you're like, what did you do to her? I didn't do anything, I promise. Yeah. And she sent me like this message. She hadn't texted me in 2 years. And before the 2 years, I didn't text her. So it was just crazy that, you know,
I think I saw that. That was on your close friends, right? Yeah. Okay, yeah. And it had the little arrow.
Yeah, and I didn't read it.
Yeah, you know when there's an arrow. It's bad.
My friend read it, and it's just, you know, same old tactics, manipulative, whatever. But I think, you know, relationships, the one thing that I can take out of, you know, the different relationships that I've been in is growth. And like from the first relationship that I'm referring to now, I didn't know how relationships were. So I'm just like, okay, we do everything. Like I'm accepting whatever this person does. Like we love each other. Like this is what we do. But you know, I never had a fine line, a boundary. Mm-hmm. Like for me, I worked off, you know, insignificance. Like if we were to go deep, In my past, I, got taken advantage of by older women in my life when I was a young kid. And so searching for significance was kind of a thing that I found myself in different roles in my life. So when I had my first girlfriend, you're searching and you're serving, you're trying to do everything for this person because you're kind of watering down yourself. You're not seeing yourself as, more than, you're seeing yourself as less than. So I always would, side with different things that she did. But the one thing that I learned from that is, who are you? What do you like? You are significant. So it's okay to break apart from this person because of, the different things that she's doing or whatever. But I really found who I was in from that relationship. And my next relationship, through the thing that I talked about, I don't know if it caught it, but tragedy, I broke up with that girlfriend because I couldn't feel anything when tragedy hit, grief hits. I was a totally different person.
Yeah.
So I was like, how dare I have love in my life if I couldn't, take care of, be there for the people, my loved ones that I just lost. I think, like, for me in that situation, again, I lost 2 family members in my city. It's like, it should have been 3 for 3 or none of us.
Yeah.
So I'm like, how dare I have any other love in my life? So I broke up with that one, and so yeah.
Wait, man, that's hard.
Yeah,
Wait, so
is.
you broke up with her? That's interesting because it's funny how like in the times that we need love the most, we actually push it away. And so, where are you at with that now? Like, do you still care? Like, just genuinely, like, do you still care about? Like her?
It's funny because in my early podcast, I shoot the shit. I tell it like it is.
You tell it, yeah.
And in my first early podcast, I spoke about her a lot. Like I still loved her, all these things, and that was just a year ago.
Yeah.
I started the podcast in September last year. The month before, I was at my best friend's wedding, and she was there. So it kind of sparked up those things. And yeah, I still loved her at the time. I still have. Do I have feelings for her? I don't think so, because I've seen her again and my perspective has changed. Yeah. But at that time I did, and I talk about it candidly. But yeah, it's always weird because not saying anything. Every relationship that I've been in, I ended it, and that was the one that I really had no outside reason to end it, but what happened. And so it's kind of tough. It's like, dang, like, I was really, especially how it happened. During the week that I lost my family members, actually it was Valentine's Day, and the next day they passed. On that Valentine's Day, I can still remember it to this day. Like my girlfriend, she actually went back home. She lived a couple hours away from Texas Tech, and I like broke into her house. Her roommate gave me the key.
Yeah.
And I made her like 2 cheesecakes, got her all her favorite things. Like, that was a symbol of me like stepping into a different stage of relationship.
Yeah.
So because before, if I revert to my other relationship, I was kind of closed in, like I didn't give myself enough because I just hurt from my first relationship. So that was like symbolizing, okay, I'm stepping into this new person. And then literally hours after, the worst thing in my life happened. Yeah. So I think like, I was like, how dare I have love when that happened to me in my life? So, kind of getting through that and working past that is, I would be lying if I said it's still, it's still there, but I don't feel the same as I did. So,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I got new truth unraveling every time you ask a question. Yeah, you're like, what the heck? I didn't.
No, I want the truth. I think that's powerful, and that's why I asked, because it's just crazy. And I think even when I'm thinking about like something a really hard pill that I had to swallow was, and I don't know if like the girl that you dated that was a little, not so, was maybe like narcissistic tendencies, manipulative, gaslight kind of feels, right?
Yeah.
I did a lot of work and I was like, he was a narcissist, he was this, he was that. And some of the things that he said to me, and maybe you don't resonate with this, but he was very like, I wouldn't say verbally abusive, but he was verbally abusive. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the things that he said to me, though, were not things that I did not say to myself in my head. Mm. And so it was interesting how I saw this like mirror reflection of somebody that was like hurting me so deeply, but I was like, wait, like, am I really treating myself like some high and mighty way that he is not able to meet up. Like,
Yeah.
no. And so I found myself.
Wait, he would say something and then it'll have you question.
It was like, if he said something, you know, about my past or something, I was like, I say that about my past.
Yeah.
Like, how dare I, like, or not even how dare I, but he was judging me for things that I judged myself for. And so I'm not surprised that I found myself in that relationship. And, you know, I really had to look at myself and I said, you know, what is it about me that attracted somebody like that? What is it about where I was at in my life where he's a narcissist, but like I brought that in.
Yeah.
And I had to take radical responsibility, and it was so painful, but it was actually like really freeing because he's crazy, but like on a soul level, like I get it. I don't know what if I would have done anything differently than he would. Like, that's what free will is. Like,
Yeah.
I can't honestly say 100% I would have been the better person no matter what had I experienced everything that he had experienced and been in his shoes.
Exactly.
And so, like, I think that opened a lot of, like, forgiveness.
I think
me.
I told you this on my podcast. It's hard because I've heard you say that before, and it's tough because it's like, okay, yes, we understand people's past and we can't judge them for that because I don't know. Who am I to say I wouldn't have done the same thing or worse?
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, the next opportunity, how do I know when to excuse that or to actually, you know, say, I don't need you in my life and move on to the next person? I think it's a fine line, and it's hard to kind of, you know, understand somebody's past and see, okay, is this person worth going this journey with, or I should probably find the next.
Yeah, and mostly not. Most of the time, no. But
depends on what it is, though, right?
Yeah, for sure. It depends on like what level of like pain they ensue.
Yeah, and maybe not even pain, just baggage, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of the times I might say, oh, I'm just going out with my boys, and not thinking of anything.
Yeah.
But they say, oh, he's going out with his boys, he's going to cheat on me, he's going to do this, and they put that on you. I'm just like, So it doesn't even have to be so like, you know, pain and just negative all the time. It can look like that. Just, oh, you going out with your boys? And I'm like, yeah. It's just a thought of, oh, now I'm thinking of that every single time. How much can you put up with, and who's worth putting up with all of that? I think, because I had it on a different lens, kind of on that lens. Maybe not abrupt and direct, but it's little things in my mind, like manipulation, like little, okay, you doing that? I'm like, oh, do I do that? Am I this?
Yeah.
No, I'm not this bad person that you think I am. So it's getting out of that and just finding the person that, you know, with all their flaws, who's the right one for me? Who should I take this next step with? Like, who's worth that? It's the tough part.
Yeah. And I think we have this illusion that like it's supposed to be like really easy all the time.
True. Ooh, true.
Like,
true.
I don't know. I find that like,
sorry, not to cut you off.
No, go.
I'm sorry, because if I'm being honest, that's what I'm dealing with, because, you know, I go through these things in my life just like everybody else. And you're at this point where, okay, I got my shit together, I'm good.
Yeah.
I want this perfect person.
Yeah.
Like, you guys aren't still supposed to grow together. So now I'm looking at people like, okay, she has to be universally beautiful. Because I think I'm beautiful, one. But then two, you're trying to get everybody perfect. It's like, nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
It's like the traits, like what traits do they have? What beliefs, what values do they have? What's their baseline? What's their foundation? Do they love the Lord? Okay, can you see themselves with, you know, can you grow together? Mm-hmm. A lot of times my problem is looking for the end product. Okay, you find the end product, where's growth? Like, so that's the thing that is challenging for me. I would ask you, how did you step into your relationship? Like, what was the thing that said, okay, after my past, despite everything that I've been through, I can take the next step with this person? What was the thing that helped you do that?
So Taylor and I, very like interesting story. Somebody actually introduced us through friends, and I was in a weird place, not a weird place in my life, but a new place in my life. I'd actually just given my life to Christ a few months ago.
Yeah.
And
he caught you while you was good.
Yeah, he got me fresh out.
Fresh.
And You know, it's funny because we did a podcast and we were like talking to each other and talking about dating and love and all this stuff, and we like thought we knew everything, and it was
problems came right after.
It's very cute. And I found like we were doing really great, and then 3-4 months in, all of a sudden I felt like I got hit by a train, and I was like, whoa, like all of my pain from my past, it was now showing up to the surface. It was on a whole different level. And it was actually because somebody did a great analogy. They were talking about how like when you're in fight or flight your whole life, it's like you're in the ocean and the current's pulling you in and pushing you out and pulling you in and pushing you out. And all of a sudden you get to a safe space, which is often another person, and you're at the shore. And what do you do when you get to the shore? You collapse.
Yeah.
And I found like that was the representation of, it was like God had brought this person into my life and he had created a space for me, but in that space I was forced to see all of these wounds.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not lovable, I'm not good enough, I don't know how to do this. And then even like I would question him, and I questioned myself all the time, but I questioned him too, and I questioned our relationship, and I said, well, it doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
All of this is so painful. For months, like really dealing with like old things from like when I'm 10 years old are showing up that I'd forgotten, and I'm like, wow, like this is a lot of baggage to carry.
Yeah.
And like it's a lot for him to carry.
Yeah.
And so like I put him through, you know, hell and high water, facing these like basically going to war with me together on these things that I'd gone through. And yeah, it was just the moment that I decided, okay, I'm going to put both feet in, I'm going to ride this out, and I have a partner, was really the moment that I surrendered. And I actually remember hugging Taylor after like going through a lot with him, my stuff that I was placing on him, and I felt like I heard God whisper like surrender. And it was God being like, you know, you're in a relationship and it's hard, but it's safe, and now you're able to receive love in a way that you never have before.
Yeah.
And so, no, it's definitely not easy all the time.
Hey, that's so cool. And one, it's awesome that you're able to kind of, you know, get through that with him, and you're able to take accountability. Like a lot of people don't. And for you to just openly say, like, I was putting this on him, I think that's, you know, great in itself. But I do think it's special to have somebody go through those things with you. That's how you actually know it's real love.
Yeah, I think there's levels, for
Yeah,
sure. Like,
and
you have this level of like, oh, I'm going through this healing and I'm healing by myself. But then you get in a relationship and you're being forced to get vulnerable. I realized how emotionally unavailable I actually was. And it's
Man, you just answered like kind of what I was going to go through, because I was going to say the opposite. I'm like, normally before you get into a relationship, you make sure you built yourself up so you don't bring that baggage or that other stuff onto the next person.
Yeah.
But that is true. Like, how do you know until you're in it?
Yeah.
And you guys are able to get through it. That is true though.
Yeah.
Because dang, I'm not scared. I don't lead with fear, but for myself, I feel like I'm charged. I'm built up for a while now. So like when I get in a relationship, I'm ready for the waves to come for me too.
For sure.
So,
And you don't know what it's going to be like. And maybe mine was a little bit more, you know, eccentric, and it was like trauma that, you know, you don't think about, but you realize you've been carrying this whole time. And so I'm blessed. I think that's also like a huge thing that people should look for when they are dating somebody. Like, it's not the end product. It's like, is that person going to sit with me and heal with me? But on the other side, are they going to be strong enough to have certain boundaries to hold me accountable to where I want to go?
Facts.
Because the thing about Taylor and I being together and all that I went through, that didn't happen from him weeping over me and being sad with me all the time. Like, that happened from him having like this like anchor in him that grounded him to be like, all right, like, you're gonna feel this, I'm gonna be here, I'm also not gonna let you speak to me like that.
I like that. Is that what attracted you initially, or it changed? Like, you found out like, oh, he had that?
You know, I always knew like his character was impeccable. It was one of the reasons like I even was willing to like go on a first date with him, because I wasn't interested in dating at that time. But the girl that introduced me to him was like, you got to meet him, like his character, his integrity. And I so I knew right away, but then, you know, my like doubting self was like, we'll see, like as we go.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's ever once like not shown up in the level of integrity that he says he is.
I think I asked that because it's like you said, somebody to hold you accountable. That takes you to the next level because it's easy, you know, attractive woman, attractive male, you get together, okay, it makes sense, but it's like, you know, we have to be actually adding to the situation.
Yeah.
You've gone through a long time. I'm not just trying to find some handsome man.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, no, you got to actually help me grow. So it's funny that you said that. His integrity, his character was able to, you know, stand firm on what he believes in, and it was able to help you get through the things that you know, got through. So in my life, it's always hard for me because I feel as though my role in a relationship, I'm a strong-willed kind of guy with the integrity, the values, the strong, you know, kind of person, motivating. Mm-hmm. And I always find myself in a situation to where I'm pushing the other person, and sometimes I push too much because sometimes my issue is like trying to make sure like they're like me and going and grinding. I wouldn't date me. I honestly wouldn't. I don't want to date somebody that's focused 6 a.m. Go to. I don't need that. I need like creativity. Bring something like nurturing.
Freedom.
Something
feminine
else.
Energy.
I would love that. So it's hard to, you know that this is a partnership, like you said, somebody that brings something different to the table. So what you see with your eyes and what you're looking for, it's like, maybe you should see it different, like somebody that, you know, charges and mends those things together in a different way is where I'm at in my life. Man.
And I think doing it differently too, like, you know, it's an interesting thing because Taylor and I have been together maybe a year and 6 months. We've never had sex. We don't get drunk together. We don't cuss at each other. We don't really cuss. Sometimes I cuss, but he doesn't cuss. He waited till he pretty much loved me to kiss me.
Really?
And so, like, at first I was like, what? Okay.
He's dope. That's dope.
You
can tell. You can just tell the character of somebody, like.
And he did something differently that I've never seen any real, like, actual man do in a relationship with me, and he did it because he loved me. And I struggle with, like, we don't do sleepovers. Like, it's hard to not have intimacy too. It's like, do we get married? Do we not? And I question it all the time, and he's very firm in it. And I think, like,
hey, he's sorry. That's so dope because you know that's rare, right?
Oh, it's
to have the
rarest.
Discipline, and that transfers to faith, like the discipline, the character. Like people listening is like, are you serious? Like that? That's fire, sorry to tell you.
Well, no, and he keeps his word. And I think that's what a lot of women feel like men aren't showing up today in, is like they say something and then they go against it. And I know, like, he's never, when we get married, he's never going to cheat on me. If he can keep it to himself when he's with me, like, I know for certain. So he's literally like created this foundation for us, and I think that it's really powerful. And I was joking around with my friend, and I was telling her, like, we don't do sleepovers, and I was like, it sucks. Like, it really pisses me off. But I was like, but dang, like, it's working.
That's fire.
Because we were doing sleepovers for a bit, but then it was like your roommates, you know, and it's like, you can't do that.
Hate that.
Messes it up, and now we're not. And I'm like, wow, that actually really works. So, like,
that is so good, man. That's dope.
You know what I was thinking too? Like, often people, they're like, well, I'm not Christian, so I'm not going to wait to sleep with them, and I'm not going to not do sleepovers, and I'm not going to, like, avoid these things. But I actually think, like, even, like, aside from Christianity, like, there's so much power in being celibate and, like, not just, like, having sex with random people. Like, I don't know what the feminist movement that was like, all the girls should sleep with whoever they want. I'm like, you screwed us.
Exactly.
You completely screwed us.
And it's easy for people to say it, but when they actually do it, and, you know, the way, even biblically, you know, when you do these things, sin makes you a prisoner. Where is the prison cell? Where is the prison sentence? It's in the mind. It's through condemnation. And so you're going through these different things, and you're listening, and you're remembering your past, or what you did with this person, and they're leaving images. And so your mind holds all these images in your head. And just like, for an example, like pornography. If you sit yourself with pornography, it leaves these pictures. So now you wonder why you can never stick with something long term, because you have these images of different people in different situations. So it does something to you and it hinders you and it holds you back without you even knowing, oh, I'm just watching this. Oh, I'm just having sex with this person.
Yeah.
So you can never stick long term in all these broken relationships over and over and over again. You're wondering, why am I like this?
Yeah.
It's because of the things that you've seen and that you've done. It, again, like you said, it doesn't even have to be a Christian.
Yeah.
But when you realize like that's actually what it's doing to you, it's, you know, you figure out the truth.
Yeah. Let's talk about porn actually, because like I've always been like very like, even to myself, like very against it, because I think that there's something very dark about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I've seen a lot, like I know a lot of people just like normalize it. Like it's just like a normal thing that everybody does. And I think there's a real struggle. And I also think like it's connected to your dopamine receptors. So like you're seeing it for the first time, it's doing something in your brain, a chemical like reaction.
Yeah.
And now we're becoming addicted to it. And I think it's literally killing love.
Yes. And I think it's disgusting. And to be honest, like I'm not even trying to be holier than thou. I haven't watched a thing of porn, I think, since like freshman year of high school. Like,
when everybody was like, oh, let's see like what happens.
Yeah, like it's...
And that's not what happens, by the way.
The only thing I do see, if I'm being honest, is like if a friend sends a video in a group message or...
Yeah,
so I'm just
like,
I
just like why?
I just think it's just like... Because one, it's not real, it's fake. Two, it's like... It's, again, I think it just leaves a picture in your mind of this is how it should be, and it leaves that, and it's hard to unsee that. Mm-hmm. And so every time you actually want to have a real relationship with somebody else, you think it's supposed to be one way, and it brings comparison in your mind of this is how this person's supposed to look. This is what like love and things look like. When you have a relationship, this is what we're supposed to do. Yeah. And it gives you this false image of, you know, what life is. I think it holds back so many people from, you know, actually having a long-lasting relationships. Because like I said, you know, they turn this off, they can go to the next one, the next one, the next one. It's leaving so many pictures, and, you know, love is false in their head now because of the pictures they've seen. So I think it's destroys so many people. Yeah. And I don't know the scientific facts about it, because I know there's even studies on that of how it destroys, but spiritually, like, it brings condemnation and those things to your mind. So
I think even like tagging on to that, the amount of options that there are for dating. Yeah. Like we're on Tinder and Hinge, and like I think a lot of like relationships fail and marriages fail because they think that they're gonna be able to find something in somebody else that's gonna fill a void for them. And it's like, no, like you have to fill that. Even with Taylor, like when I was going through all of it, sure, like there were thoughts that were not true, but there were thoughts, and the enemy was showing up like, well, you could go somewhere else and you could have smitten, like be in love again, and you could avoid everything. And it's like we so easily are like, oh, it's hard, like I was saying, and we walk away. And then we also have so many options now on social media that we're like, well, they're prettier or they have more money or whatever, and so it's like, of course nothing's working.
Exactly, because there's always a better person. I think I'm handsome, but I ain't gonna say there's a better looking person than Norense, because that's not how I think. No, I'm kidding. There's always better, right? And so when you look to better, whenever it gets tough, you look to the next. There's no discipline in that. There's no integrity in that. There's no character in that. So it's like, okay, you find that person and you think you're somebody of character, high integrity, all these moral values, but you jump to the next person. Okay, that's cool. But if they jump with you, they have that similar mindset. So they gonna dip when they don't see that in you. So y'all are both dipping and jumping and dipping. It doesn't work for anybody. So you're both lost. And I just think there's a lot of, I think, what is the phone? I forget the saying, but this is like Instagram, the phone is just I don't know what it's called, but it's a vehicle for lost souls. And I think it's a place where people go and they just meet one person. They helped me today. They're not good enough there, and jump to the next person. It's doing the real work and finding individuals that align with your foundation, whether it's faith or not. What is your foundation, your values, your beliefs, what charges you? Find individuals that meet that and go with that and stick with that and grind with that. If they crazy, then jump ship. But, you know, find that person and go through the struggles of life with them. So.
No, absolutely. And I think too, like the thing about social media is that you're creating this false sense of validation and connection. And so then we go home and we're like, oh my gosh, I feel so like we have these feelings of loneliness and depression and anxiety, but we have this perception that we've been connecting all day.
Yeah.
But it's not real connection.
Yeah, it's false. That's not connect. This is like actual connection, conversation.
Yes.
Going out, meeting people, seeing what their story is, what they do, not likes.
Yeah.
You know, like those are false. And people only see short term anyways. Like, what does that do for you in the short term? Okay, it makes you feel good. Okay. Will you remember that like that person gave you tomorrow even? No. Mm-hmm. So our attention levels are going down because we're used to that quick hit, that quick high, other than real long lasting relationships and building those in person. I think even work world, that it hurts. You know, for me, I work a corporate job as well. It hurts in that aspect. You know, you can't ever connect with people on your team and actually know who they are to actually help you attain a goal and get to this level, because you're always, I don't know. There's so much. I think that social media and, you know, being on the phone all day hurts so much that I think in person, in those situations, that real connection pays way more dividends than, you know, through a cellular device.
Yeah, and think about it, when you're like scrolling through, you're feeling like, oh, like I just watched somebody like post a video about somebody that had passed away, and now I'm watching a kitten, and now I'm watching this, and now, so your emotions are like this, and then we get on social media and we're like, why am I so drained?
Yeah.
Sometimes like I look back on my life and I'm like, gosh, I was like so depressed, and I'm like, of course I was depressed. Like it's almost like we've forgotten about the simplicity of like going outside and getting off your phone and like going for a walk and like connecting with people and hugging with people. And unfortunately COVID really played a role in that and had like everybody isolate. But now it's like, all right, we got to get back to it because people are dying every day because of really simple things like putting their feet in grass. That's how simple it could be.
I don't touch my damn phone in the morning anymore.
I thought you were gonna say that you don't touch grass.
No, I have to. I like literally when I wake up, I don't touch my phone for a good 30 minutes because it's like, I like to feed myself on information. Again, like if I'm a baby, I need to be fed on the right information. I don't want to be fed with feelings. As soon as I look at a text, oh, they doing that? I get a feeling. And then it takes me through that route. I want to feed myself with information. What does the word say?
Yes.
What does the word say about my day? I'm programming things that I recite. I say it. And I feel it. When I get information, it gives me a positive feeling. I don't want to be based on the feelings of today. Yeah. Because it's all negative anyways.
Yes.
And then I start with comparison. I don't have. I start with that scarcity. I don't have. I don't do this. I don't look like this. And I start through that lens. No, I'm good. I'm good on scarcity. All right.
Yeah.
I want to start with service. Yes. The way I start with serving is information. I'm like, oh, God did give me this. Yes. I do have a great family. I do have friends. I do have people that I have in my life. What if to see what they think about things in my life and serve them in different ways? So when I start with service and I put my damn phone down, I don't look to what I don't have, but I look to what I do have and the people that I do have and the God that I do serve. It helps that way. So
yeah, no, definitely. And even I often think like I'm sitting in my room and I'm like, what are the answers for this? Like I need to read this book. I need to listen to this. And like I do like the times where I can feed myself with good information. But then I've also found that like I'm sitting in silence and I'm sitting and I'm talking to God and I won't stop talking. I won't stop thinking. I won't stop putting my phone down. And it's like God can't even respond. Like you can't sit in silence for a moment and ask to receive something and some sort of word or some sort of like, I don't know, miracle, and that will come. But I always, like, I really get consumed, and it's a protective mechanism. Like, I've talked about this before on TikTok, but like when your like obsession with trying to figure out why things happen to you and why they did happen to you, and like your obsession with analyzing all of it is keeping you from feeling the experience. So it's like you're avoiding it through trying to analyze everything. And I used to do that all the time. Sometimes I still do, because I'm like, if I could just like think about it enough and figure out why they did this to me and why I did that and why this happened, then I can avoid the grief that I actually am feeling about why it did happen the way it did. And
I think, you know, maybe it goes on along the lines of what you just said there, but God goes as you go. Like,
Yeah.
for what you just said, you're thinking about different things. For me, if I start with good information on stocks or money, I get down there and I still get down scarcity. Dang, I got to make this money. I got to put that play into, I got to do this. I got to do this. And I'm always missing the mark. And then I'm trying to fit in Jesus. Like, okay, check.
Yeah.
I gotta worship now.
Okay, dear God, thank you.
But that's not how it works. Like,
No.
you have to create space.
Yeah.
When you create that space and you start with him, you show him, like, God, you're a priority in my life. I create space for you every single day. No matter outside, I'll throw this phone. Like, I don't need that.
Yeah.
I create space for you to move. I'm expecting for you to move. That's the faith. Move.
Yeah.
And it's even that, I don't have to feel like he's moving.
Yeah.
He's here because he said he's here.
Yeah.
I don't have to feel it. It's a fringe benefit if I feel it. Oh,
Yeah.
when I feel it, it's a blessing. Yeah, I like it. I'm in tears, all that. But even if I don't feel it, I know he's there with me.
Yeah.
I've created that space. Then I can go about my day. But I think, you know, again, for me and you and any individual that's supercharged and are busy in their day, it's still about your priority. Okay, you say God's the foundation of everything you do your life on. But if I look at your day, how much you fitting in God with a little scripture doesn't do it. It's a snack. Like I said, you have to feed yourself on the word and in his spirit and get in his presence. You know, it says the Lord inhabits the praise of his people. And you ain't worshiping, but you doing all this other stuff. Okay. You want to change your situation. Inhabits means what? He's there. He's living with you in that moment.
Yeah.
That's the best feeling anyways.
Yeah.
I don't want to stress. I want him to be here with me.
Yeah.
Because he is. But you feeling that and going out the rest of your day in him, I think is the main thing there. I always ramble, but I do think that, you know, creating space at the start of your day, you know, there's so many signs, whatever, on the start of your day. It means the world, and it means a lot. But once you start your day in him, it helps you look at things different through the things that you face during your day. So.
Yeah, there's got to be some science about it, like reprogramming your brain too, because I learned the other day, your conscious mind processes 40 bits of information per second. Your subconscious mind processes 40 million bits of information per second. I gasped. I was like, what? And I think you wake up, you're in that alpha state still, and like everything rises. You're like, I didn't do this, I didn't do that. Like a lot of girls like will feel our body and be like, oh wait, like I'm still this, I'm still fat. I find that I'm off, like all of the things that I've been feeling come up in the morning, and then I do avoid. I will go to my phone. I will even like throw myself into a book. And that's usually more helpful. But I think it's really important to get silent and say, this is painful, but like I know God's with me and I just got to feel this. Because I don't know, I think we think like the hard stuff is going to last forever. And we think once we go deep into that pain, it's like you're not going to come out of it. But like it feels like it's usually pretty short. Like I think certain emotions only last like 90 seconds and then you can really process through them. But I think even to talk about like toxic positivity and stuff, like I think people don't want to become positive, or they stay stuck in their pain because they don't believe that they don't believe in the ebbs and flows of life. So they think like to be consistently happy all the time is impossible. Like honestly, like you're not supposed to be consistently happy all the time. Like, that's not even. It's
not even realistic. And I think one thing you did say is it's about not just, you know, you say you throw yourself in a good book, that's good, but actually feeling and being silent. It's humbling yourself. You know, God wants you to humble yourself before him. God, I don't know. I'm feeling this way. I don't know my next move. Because that's when he steps in. You without God, you doing that independent work, strive, grind. That's not what he said anyways. You know, because that's idolatry. He wants you to need him. You need him through faith. You grow with him that way. Anybody that tells you, I can do it, you get it, work, grind, work. That's not what God wants, because, you know, you doing it without God is idolatry. It's to work and grow through him. God, I need you to move. I can't do it. I'm stressed today. Man, it's one of them days where I feel like I can't do it. I feel like I'm fat. I feel like I can't make that next move in life. God, I need you to move on my situation. Move. Listen to his word. Get in his spirit. Then oh shoot, he here with me. I got a cheat code.
Yeah.
And it helps me, and it helps everyone through their days that way. So
yeah, I think that's why surrender is so important, because I constantly, like, we resist as human beings. We will resist anything that's good for us, and we will definitely resist the things that we know that we need to do. And so in order to break through the resistance, I truly am like, all right, like, surrender. I can't do this.
Sorry, not to cut you off.
Go
Do you have a hard time surrendering though in your week, your work week, your charge, you're doing your day to day, you got this. I don't have time to surrender. Do you?
For sure. I have a really hard time surrendering. And I think it's because I think that I am surrendered. Like, I think like, oh, like, I gave it up to God already, but no, I like re-give my life to God every day.
Yeah.
Like, every time in church, they're like, hey, raise your hand if you've never given your life to Christ or you've fallen off. I'm like, me, because it's like, I don't, just like I forgive every day, sometimes I have to go back and forgive my past self. Sometimes I have to go back and forgive the people that hurt me. It's grief. It comes in waves. And so I'm constantly like re-pushing myself into it. And when I have like breakdowns or I'm freaking out or I feel the anxiety and the resistance build up within me, it's because somewhere along the line I stopped surrendering and I started to try and control and hold on to all of it, and I tighten my grip and it never works.
I think what you said there, it's good because it's always great that you've done the work to know, okay, this is the patterns that I do, and when I get to there, it's hard to surrender. A lot of people don't even know like why they feel the way they do, what patterns they have and what will help them. They don't even know that. So for you to say like, whenever I surrender, it's hard because I'm holding and I'm grabbing onto things. I think that's great. And I think that even for me, surrendering is an issue and a problem. Cause like I said, it's hard to, fit in that surrender. Even God, okay, we did the little morning thing, but when you feel that thing in you that you need to get out during the day, I'm like, man, I got to charge. I got to push through. I got to work. That's the thing for me that's hard. And I think even in those times, those tough times that come, that to know that, hey, you have a helper. You have the Holy Spirit to help you in those real moments. Surrender to that voice, that little thing that, stop, have patience, have silence in this moment. Surrender to that voice rather than the things around you.
Yeah. Amen. That's a pastor's kid right there.
Was it? I'm literally in my head, even when I talk, I'm like, bro, I be talking too much. Shut up. Like, seriously.
When you speak, do you like speak? Okay, this might be a really weird question.
Nothing's weird.
But like sometimes when I'm speaking, I know like I'm in flow and I feel like something's kind of speaking through me. I feel myself grounded like in my heart and in like my body. But then sometimes when I'm speaking, I'm starting to think about what I say. I speak through my head. Yeah. Does that make sense? Do you do that? Yeah,
like I've done both, and the speaking through your head is awful. It's like
I'm always like stuttering and like I don't know.
It's not for me. Like it's not that part. It's just like I just said some things that I thought was cool, but I didn't really feel what I just said.
And it wasn't authentic.
Yeah, but when I speak, I'm like, I don't care how it came out. I rambled like I don't want to ramble, but I don't care how it came out. I know I said the right things. Hopefully somebody pieces it together. And a lot of times, even with this, you forget that people think the way you do and process the way you do, and their minds are like you. So there's somebody that thinks crazy and they're ADD just like me. So they're like, I totally get that. So I'm for that one person. So,
that's all that matters.
You looked at the page like there's stuff on the page. Hey, best part of the interview. Listen, there's nothing on the page. What is she looking at? There's nothing here.
Honestly, I'm just thinking about if the camera's rolling, but I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. And then I was thinking, I'm like, what else do I want to ask you now that I have you here?
Yeah, I mean, how long was that? That was long.
I can't see.
You didn't have a record?
42? Yeah, that was long.
You didn't think.
All right.
That's funny. That's funny. Oh, we hit our mark. We're good. That's funny.
We hit 40.
That's hilarious.
Wait, but now that we missed the last part of the first podcast, where can people find you?
Mind Believe Podcast is the podcast on all platforms. Mind Believe Podcast on IG is the podcast IG. Mind Believe Pod on Twitter. @KingNo_ on IG. I hate too many plugs, but if one plug, the only plug, Mind Bully Podcast on all platforms.
That's the one. And it's actually really good. I don't know if they heard that when I spoke about
When you
it in
say
the first
actually,
half.
what did
You know, when there's, you know, and I don't know, maybe my podcast is like that. I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
But sometimes there are other podcasts, and like even like I don't know these people, and I'll go and I'll listen, and I'm like, this sucks.
Yeah.
Like, but maybe this sucks to some people. Like that's
Nah, it doesn't. It doesn't.
You're right. Yeah. We're
You gotta
really
have
good.
confidence. First of all, Norense, God's favorite child, is in the building. Hello.
Yeah.
And you know,
Not Jesus.
I'm just kidding, but yeah, probably him, then me.
Yeah, him, you, then me.
I'm God's favorite.
Then
No, I'm
Taylor.
kidding. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank
That's
you.
probably a good one, Jesus.
Yeah. Thank you for coming. Thank you for redoing the second half. That was good.
No problem.
Yeah.
No problem. Thanks.